Hello, happy new day. Welcome back to part 2 of our session on ownership. Today's topic focus will be centered around debt and debt elimination. As we opened up in part 1, just talking about what is going on, why it's so important to be debt free. Now we're going to dive into, just a deeper understanding of debt. And I just believe as we get started with this, I just believe most people, if they would ask probably maybe 2 questions before they allow themselves to become entrapped to any type of debt situation. Now, would it totally, if they ask these questions, I will say, make a disclaimer, I'm not sure if it would totally eliminate people from borrowing the money. However, it would probably make most people think twice. And make most people, and once they would get into that, they probably would think, I need to get out of this situation as quickly as possible. So I just believe there's 2 questions that people, before they're entering debt, should ask themselves is, what is the interest rate and what is my total cost of this loan? Why is this so important? Think about it. If you or someone, or someone that you know, let's say you just purchased, sign the papers for a brand new home. And those 2 questions are answered in that document, the interest rate and then the total cost. So most people are excited if they have what they call, let's say, a lower rate, less than 4% or whatever. They're super excited. However, by asking the question of your interest rate plus what's the total cost is eye-opening, because then most people would see, if you look at, a prior video when I believe I talked about the cost of a $400,000 home and the amount of interest that you would pay on it, and for someone to see that this $400,000 home, it would cost them $600,000, I just believe that's eye-opening for most people. Would they still sign those closing documents? Probably would. However, it should trigger something in them to say, I need to pay this loan off quick as possible. Why? Because if they paid it off as quick as possible, then it saves them what? Interest. And if you save interest, it saves you what? Money. And if it saves you money, now you have money to do what? To invest and live out your goals and dreams in a major way. So asking those 2 questions is so important. But here's the 2 questions most people ask. Most people usually ask is, hey, they may ask, what is my interest rate? Sometimes they do. But most people I know ask is, what is my payment? Most people I know in America are concerned if that payment fits with their monthly budget. Now, I don't even know if people have budgets or are adhering to budgets, but I think that's what they're asking, because they're like, wow, if this payment fits in and I can afford this payment, then I'm getting it. This home, this car, this whatever. But that's important, but that's not the most important thing. The total cost and your interest is absolutely important. So I challenge you, as the last video we were talking about reframing your mindset. You have to reframe your mindset around debt. And that's one, is just asking the right questions. These are the questions that will wake something in you and help you to make better choices going forward. So as we dive into it today, talking about the different type of debt, there's fixed and there's revolving. Now, both of them are debt. Is where you you are borrowing money from the lender. However, as you borrow money, let's say in a fixed debt situation, then what happens is now those installments are fixed. So up front, you could put your schedule together and what your installments would be to pay this loan off. Still, debt is not good, but at least what? Your end date. However, with revolving debt, see, there's no fixed installments. What happens is, and in most cases, there's a variable interest rate, which means it's variable and not fixed, which means that it can change. So honestly, you really don't know that end date. So what's the example of revolving? Probably one of the biggest examples is credit cards. See, most people do not realize, due to variable interest rates, things of that sort, they do not know their end date. This is what has gotten most people entrapped, enslaved to debt, to consumer debt, credit card debt. So when that happens, most people have to really honestly think, which one do you want, fixed or you want what, variable? And yes, this is a test, and hopefully there's someone out there that screamed no debt. However, if you are in a situation, which one would be a little bit better? Probably fixed, because now you can put your financial plan together, and you now can put a true end date together. So why is this important? Again, when you ask the right questions, you know the type of debt you have, you can now put together a plan to free yourself to totally get out of debt. Now, how can you make that happen? Through debt elimination, or through, I would say, debt stacking. There's so many different ways out there. There's the snowball effect, there's the avalanche. Basically debt stacking is just taking whatever that high debt that you have, minus, let's say, the mortgage. Usually most people, that's like the last thing to pay off. But then you take that high debt or that high interest debt, whatever it is, you pay it off. As you pay it off, you take that money and now you throw it at the next, high interest or high payment or high balance debt that you have, and you pay that off, and you just keep that process going. You just have to remember, do not celebrate, do not read your press clippings too early. You have to make sure that as you're doing this, you continue this cycle until you get to your home, if you're a homeowner. And if you're a homeowner, now guess what? Now that you have all that debt, that consumer debt taken care of, paid off, you can now start throwing an extra $500,000, $1,500 towards the mortgage. And see, you'll look up over time, and what will happen is you will be totally debt free. Just remember, it took time to get into debt, so it will take time to get out. It's most importantly about the commitment. It's about your plan and your commitment to becoming debt free, and making sure you're not entrapped by this world. You're not starting to, put your money in places that are not designed for you to grow and to get out of debt. So you really have to do that. And then once all of that it's paid off, I just want to sell you a dream. And this is not a dream. I say a dream, it's not a dream. I'm living it. And it doesn't feel like a dream. It just feels like this should be reality for most people. This is why I'm here session after session, because I believe people should be living out life this way, a debt-free life. See, a debt-free life, as I've said before, is a freeing life. It's a life that, honestly, when you're debt-free, you're not worried about, yes, we don't want in our economy the job market to be so bad, layoffs to be at an all-time high. My heart goes out to people as they're losing their jobs, especially if they're not prepared for it and not understanding that a job would never be loyal to who? To you. And so you don't have to be loyal to a job. This is why debt freedom is so important. So if they decide to divorce you before you divorce them, then guess what? You are out of debt and you have money saved. So it does not affect you. Why? Because you can always find income. There's so many ways legally, am I correct, to make money right now. The problem is most people are enslaved to debt, and that makes it challenging because the amount of money they need is a lot to take care of the debt. So it causes more stress. So when you're living a debt-free life, what happens is, hey, you show up to that business, you show up to that job, and they're not sure why you're so excited. Why? Because now you don't have the pressures of debt. See, when you get that paycheck, whatever you earn from your business or your job, everything is a profit. You don't have to, your money does not have to go out to what? Car payment, credit card, mortgage. Guess what? You can decide your next investment move. You could just, if you haven't decided your investment move, you can just say, hey, I'll just keep stacking it in the bank. Probably wouldn't advise it when you think about, inflation and money in the bank, not keeping up, but that's something for you. And honestly, that's something for you and your financial advisor to talk about. However, it is so important to be debt-free so that now you have the money to make choices. And that's what I'm trying to say. Debt freedom, it gives you choices. If you just want to take that money and just bless the world, then you may have to. But most people out there are not sharing this. See, I do believe there's a small percentage of people like myself that are totally debt-free, do not owe anyone. Make sure that they're not enslaved to interest month to month. And they're saving money. However, most of them are not talking about it. Why? Because the most popular thing right now is to spend money. You don't believe me? Hey, go to your social media, whatever one you like. If you're listening to this, probably YouTube, and watch. Most people are talking about spending, 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 spending. In a world full of spending, there has to be some people that say, no, it's about saving. It's about getting out of debt. So as we wrap this up, remember, there's a difference. First and foremost, you must ask the right questions. What is the total cost of this thing that I'm entrapping myself in? And as I said, if you still make the decision, then now you got to make the decision at that point to pay it off, as quickly as possible. And hopefully you're in a situation where that rate stays the same. It's not a revolving situation. But what I know from statistics is that a lot of people are in that revolving debt situation. And this is why you have to get it paid off as quick as possible. And then you have to put a plan together. I'm not here to tell you what type of, like I said, so many ways to pay off your debt. I just know a really, really popular one is just debt stacking your debt until it's all paid off, including the home. Because people forget about that. Home ownership is so important to have that asset, as I said on the prior video, to now move that as an asset from the bank's financial balance sheet to your balance sheet. What that does is that increases your net worth. Now it's you. See, now, and I'm telling you, what starts to happen is that now you have a life where you have a bunch of assets and zero liabilities. See, what in corporate America, they would call this a strong financial position. So I often teach how you can take corporate strategies, right? And you can apply them in your personal life, and you can do like I did and become totally debt free. How can you do that? See, they're all concerned about their balance sheet. They want to make sure their assets are strong, their cash, everything, their property, everything is strong. And that if they do have liabilities, they can pay them off quickly. It puts them in a strong position. And that's what you have to do to yourself. You have to step into that business, that job, whatever way that you earn your income, and you have to pay off your liabilities. And as you pay off your liabilities, like I said, it increases your net worth. It increases your asset. It puts you in position for total freedom. So you have to use their strategies. Save, and the only way that you can save is to start to get some of the debt, eliminate all of the debt. But as you're getting some of it paid off, you could start a process to saving money so that money can truly save you. So I thank you for tuning in to this session as we talked about debt elimination. Next, the next part, I'm assuming we're going to talk about just saving money. Because once you are debt free, that's the key. You could just save. You could do whatever you want to do. You can vacation. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that no one is able to truly control you and your life. And what I know what that does, being heart disease, being #1 killer in America, I know that reduces stress. And this channel, these sessions are all about living a debt-free and a stress-free life. Do you want it? Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, hasta luego.